In 2009, a UK company, on making public comments on Mr. Jagdeo's carbon credit agreement with Norway, accused this nation's managers, i.e. the government, of using junk economics and lies to represent this country's annual rate of deforestation. Ladies and gentlemen, when this international firm, which guides the European Union, says that our LCDS is based on junk economics and lies, they are insulting all of us, not just Bharat Jagdeo. This man hires people from the World Bank and the IDB at some very fancy salaries in the office of the president for the sole purpose of cooking our performance books so that they look okay to the international financial institutions. But if they were to look carefully, they would see that this is all nonsense. One very prominent Stabroek business columnist in the Sunday issue of the Stabroek News told us they use junk economics and lies to describe the annual growth in this country during his 2011 budget analysis. The PPP have quite a bit of advertising telling their supporters who are wavering that under their rule and good governance they have turned the economy of Guyana around by putting in place certain accountability measures and economic practices which allows good governance today. And that prior to 1992, when they came to power, none of these measures existed. At this point, I have to stop and come at this commentary from a different angle. On November 14, 2005, President Jagdeo stood in the town of New Amsterdam at the opening of a new hotel, and his illiterate staff, which at the time included Robert Prasad, did not advise him that the new hotel and suites which he was opening was reported as violating the building codes of New Amsterdam and was intruding illegally into Church Street, one of the main streets in New Amsterdam. It also totally escaped Jagdeo's attention that the fence for this new hotel is built over an interlock drain which can cause flooding if the town receives any significant rainfall. In addition, the hotel was built too close to its fences, probably breaking other town councils and central housing and planning regulations concerning adjoining buildings. By agreeing to go there to open these facilities, he could have been perceived as giving his blessings to the numerous building code violations this building represents. I want to stress all of this again. The president of this country stood in New Amsterdam and opened a building which had numerous code violations and praised the owners for their entrepreneurial drive. As if that were not enough, Mr. Jagdeo said, and I'm extracting it verbatim from the speech he made, and which I recorded and played during the commentary of above date, the following lies. In his speech, Mr. Jagdeo claimed that these large investments of $1 million US didn't come just like that, that numerous initiatives and laws had to be passed to make it happen, and he listed 6 financial actions for which he was taking credit, which facilitated these types of investments in Guyana. 1. The Exchange Control Act. 2. The Capital Issues Act. 3. The New Banking Act. 4. A New Companies Act. 5. A Modern Insurance Act. And 6. New Securities Legislation. The fact is that number 1, the Exchange Control Act, was initiated by Hugh Desmond Hoyt with the Dealers in Foreign Currency Act of 1989 establishing the cambios. It completely escaped Mr. Jagdeo's attention that number 2, the Capital Issues Act, was a Hoyt initiative, Act number 29 of 1991. It also completely escaped his attention that number 3 does not exist. There was no new Banking Act. In fact, the Banking Act was repealed, not introduced by the Financial Institutions Act 1995 by former Minister of Finance Asghar Ali. It completely escaped his attention that number 4, the New Companies Act, was also a Hoyt initiative through Act number 29 of 1991. It also escaped his attention that number 5, the New Securities Legislation number 20 of 1998, was prompted by requirements of the international financial institutions when Mrs. Jagan was president. It completely escaped his attention that number 6, the Securities Industry Act of number 21 of 1998, also at the request of the international financial institutions, was introduced when Mrs. Jagan was president. So the British company commenting on the LCDS was right. We cannot trust any information coming from the PPP. And the basic fact remains, it is stark nakedness. In 1992, we were the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere after Haiti, and in 2015, we are still the second poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere.